The UFC 268 Usman versus Covington 2. Welcome to our main card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan, I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, we're giving you our fight-by-fight breakdown, fight-by-fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective, here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and sticking around to the end of the video, you get some parlay action as well. If you have not watched our prelim video, great time to press pause, check that video out, and then of course come back to this main card. Otherwise, please subscribe to the channel at Boxing MMA Picks. You can definitely check out all of our content on there. Hit the thumbs up on all of our videos, participate in the comments on all of our videos. We want to hear from you guys there, and please subscribe to the channel. For this pay-per-view event, UFC 268, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, part 2. We have 14 fights in total. We've gone through the first 9 that are on the prelim. So we're going to get right into fight number 1 of the main card. We have Frankie Edgar taking on Marlon Vera. Frankie Edgar, his last fight, of course, was that bad flying knee loss to Corey Sandhagen. 40 years old at this point in his career. His game is predicated on good movement, constant movement, especially laterally. And at 40 years old, he still has that aspect to his game. Does have that constant pressure at times. He does have constant head movement at all times. Very much a hard target to hit, again, even at 40 years old. Solid, crisp punches. He'll land the combinations, good striking speed. He'll still shoot for takedowns at this stage in his career. Still has solid wrestling at this stage in his career. But I wouldn't really call the takedowns too much of a threat at this stage in his career. Of course, age is going to have to catch up to everyone, especially in the bantamweight division. For Marlon Vera, he beat Davy Grant back in June. Southpaw, pretty relaxed in the stand-up, switch stance fighter as well. Also throw a fair amount of kicks, especially that low kick. We saw it work against a number of opponents. Sugar Sean O'Malley used it a lot against Jose Aldo, used it a lot against Davy Grant. It is a go-to weapon for him. A decent tie clinch, decent tie knees. Can't forget that he's actually considered a grappler on top of all of that. He will shoot for the odd takedown here and there. We do see that he only lands, 0.88 takedowns per fight. So not quite 1 per fight. Can't really call that a weapon of his, but he does have pretty effective clinch positions against the cage with solid head position. That scores points in the fights, even if he doesn't actually get the takedown. I do look for Vera's ability to stay calm, working in his favor as this fight goes on. I do look for Frankie to look good early in the fight, maybe even for the first half of the fight, maybe even more. This is not a guaranteed fight in either direction. Frankie Edgar will not tire out, but I do think Marlon Vera will start to time him. I do think he'll start to find him as well. And I think Vera's calf kick will definitely slow Frankie Edgar down. We saw Pedro Munoz use that pretty effectively against Frankie Edgar. This kind of has that split decision feel to it, but I feel those split decision type of fights usually goes in the favor of Marlon Vera. I'm going with Marlon Vera on this. I think an effective calf kick will slow Edgar down. Edgar being 40 years old, I just cannot go for that from a betting perspective. Vera's a lot younger. Vera should be a lot hungrier, and I think he'll pull off the victory here.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I think this is a tough fight. It's one of the hardest fights for me on the card to predict, but I ultimately landed on Frankie Edgar. But I wouldn't put any bets on this fight here. I'm banking on Edgar here. I know that he's 40. That was my biggest concern with Edgar. I think this fight can go any way. I think that this fight should be closer to a pick'em. I think these are the fighters that Frankie Edgar beats his whole career, but I'm not sure how much he has left. So likely Marlon Vera wins the fight, second, third round. But if Frankie Edgar has something left here, I think he can get takedowns in this fight. I think he can utilize a lot of top pressure to win the rounds. Frankie Edgar does not get tired. He's used to 5-round fights. And a lot of the wins Marlon Vera, he's fighting guys that get tired as the fight goes on. He's not going to find Edgar tired in the 3rd round. But again, I'm taking a shot here. This is a risky bet here, a risky pick. I wouldn't put any money on this. Marlon Vera should definitely win this fight, but I'm gonna put a little sprinkle on Frankie Edgar here, still having something left, utilizing the wrestling. I know he's old. I know he's chinny. But I think he has enough left here that he could pull this off. Will he pull it off? Likely not. But I'm going to go with Frankie Edgar as my pick.
Can't be mad at that at all. Frankie Edgar definitely is a legend in this sport. Let's talk about fight number 2 of the main card. We have Shane Burgos taking on Billy Quarantillo. Shane Burgos, he likes to come forward, has good pressure, really a fun fighter to watch, always going to put on a good performance. Really trusts his hands, has good hands at that, high-level striker, really likes to engage, not the most elusive defensively, definitely hits hard, definitely gets hit hard as well. Billy Q, serviceable stand-up, serviceable MMA stand-up, I should say, pushes a high pace throughout the fight, throws a lot into his strikes in both his punches and his kicks, likes that front kick to the body, likes to make it a scrappy fight. So these are two guys that are definitely going to go at it. And I can see why this is on the main card for sure. Likes the ground game. We do see 1.66 takedowns per fight. Good grappling when he's on top, good wrestling, good ground and pound. A lot of submission attempts in his game as well. We see a submission average there at 1.5 per fight as well, in addition to his takedowns. Doesn't really have the best takedown defense, willing to almost pull guard oftentimes, work off of his back. He is a black belt, pretty active off of his back as well. But again, pulling guard isn't a great way to win points in the UFC. Burgos has 89% takedown defense, though. So it's going to be interesting to see if Quarantillo can land that takedown. Of course, we know Burgos is physically strong as well for this featherweight division. So very interested to see if Billy Q can use that. Because if he can't, I do think Quarantillo will slow down as the fight goes on, especially if those takedown attempts are unsuccessful. I do think Billy Quarantillo is pretty hittable on the feet, although I mentioned Burgos is pretty hittable as well. I can see this fight being a sort of a 29-28 Burgos type of fight, but I would say be careful with it. I need to see probably the weigh-in or the face-off, because Billy Q does have some paths here. But, I'm going to go with Burgos, and I'm actually going to sort of roll the dice and potentially include this on a parlay, maybe a smaller side parlay, or maybe a quote unquote lotto parlay where I just make it a really small amount. Shane Burgos, I see -200 here. I think it's decent. I wish it was maybe a -160, would have been all over it. Not too mad at -200, but in either way, my pick is going to be Shane Burgos.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. I'm going Shane Burgos here. He lost to Calvin Kattar, Josh Emmett, 2 good boxers, and he lost to Edson Barbosa, a really, really good striker. So he's losing to really good strikers here, dynamic strikers. I think Billy Q has heart. I think he definitely is a live dog. He can land something here. But I have to go with Shane Burgos. He's not losing to these guys at Billy Q's level with their striking. He's able to keep it on the feet, and I think this could be a boxing match. And I think that Shane Burgos is going to land the better shots. He may get a finish here. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. The UFC was really trying to push him, and obviously he got these losses. So I think he's going to come into this motivated here and put on a show. So I'm going to go Shane Burgos here to get back into the win column.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 3. We have Justin Gaethje taking on Michael Chandler. A very difficult fight to call. Justin Gaethje has not fought actually since October 2020. That was his loss to Khabib, of course. Likes to keep the fight on the feet, has a high level of activity, moves around really well laterally. Good high-level striking, good at striking IQ, good usage of the leg kicks, in and out movement's pretty good, good accuracy in his shots as well. Can really put combinations together. He has, again, that good striking IQ. Timing on his counter punches are pretty good. His downfall is that he takes as much as he gives in a lot of ways. That could be an issue for him, obviously, because Chandler can hit, right? Chandler has power. We know that Chandler lost to Charles Oliveira in May, but we know that Michael Chandler had Charles Oliveira really hurt in that fight. And if it wasn't a title fight, that fight probably would have been finished. Good in and out movement, good jab, good straight punch with a lot of, with a lot behind it. He has that stalking pressure of stand up. He knocks guys out, right? Especially with that power hand. Underrated striking IQ. He can really set it up really well, mixes his punches up well as well. Uses body strikes, uses level changes, definitely has that wrestling threat to his game. His two punch combinations do get a little bit predictable at times, but it does remain effective because, again, he goes to the body, because, again, he has that threat to use his wrestling. The fight is very intriguing because both guys have their advantages, right? I mean, I think the advantage for Chandler, especially in the 3-round fight, is that the wrestling that he has, use it for 2 rounds, survive the third type of feel, is definitely a path that he can go, down. Gaethje is hittable, and Chandler hits hard. I mentioned that at the beginning, or towards the beginning, I should say. I think the advantage for Gaethje, on the other hand, is that he is more well-versed on the feet, has the better lateral movement. I think he has the ability to put the combinations together as well. This is an interesting one because although Chandler has the wrestling advantage, from the buildup I've seen for this fight, obviously you always have to ask yourself how much of it is just talk versus actual intention. But these guys are talking in a way where they intentionally want to keep the fight on the feet. I think that's going to work in favor of Gaethje, especially if Chandler kind of sticks to that motive for the entire fight. And Gaethje, I mean, both of these guys are coming off of losses, so I can't say anyone is hungrier than the other. But I mean, Gaethje is special. I think there's something about him. I think he's able to pull it out. And I think it is going to be his striking that gets the job done here. Of course, we know his stablemates are fighting right after him in Rose and Kamaru Usman. So I think he's looking to kind of get the show started for his team. And I think he's going to pull the win out here versus Michael Chandler.
Yeah, this is a tough fight, but I'm going to go Gaethje. It is a tough fight, but for me, the big difference in this fight is the chin. Gaethje's been finished, but people had to hit him with a baseball bat to finish him. When you look at Chandler, he was put down by Oliveira. He was put down by Pitbull, a featherweight in Bellator, who just got knocked out by McKee, the new champ. So he's getting dropped by these guys. I don't think he can stand up to a Gaethje bomb. So I'm going to go Justin Gaethje here at some point to land that. And again, Chandler, he looks good in the first round. He's one of the best first-round fighters in the history of MMA. But after that first round, he's not the same fighter. He's not as explosive as he was in the first round. So I'm expecting Gaethje to survive that first round, even win the first round. But as the fight goes on, get a lot more success. So I'm going to go Justin Gaethje to find that chin.
Let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. We have Thug Rose Namajunas taking on Zhang Weili. These two fighters, of course, faced each other back in April. Thug Rose, I mean, we know her striking is clean. We know, great footwork, good movement, light on her feet, good jab. She moves really well laterally, good in and out movement as well, good timing, good IQ, good head movement. To her numbers, there are 2 takedowns a fight, 53% takedown accuracy. Of course, a very complete fighter, as we would expect from a champion. Zhang Weili, very complete fighter in her own right. She was on a 21-fight win streak prior to that loss to Thug Rose. Good in and out movement, always looking to set up that bigger shot. Good fakes, good feints. She will use that low kick like a jab. She'll use the jab a decent amount of times as well. She can definitely sit down on her punches, good power, good combinations as well. When her confidence does pick up, she starts to march forward a bit and puts a constant pressure on. Of course, we know this fight should be a kickboxing match. We know that both of these girls can land a takedown, like I mentioned. Zhang Weili does have 100% takedown defense. I don't expect either fighter to bring the fight to the ground, really. Maybe some clinch situations, but I don't see much takedown action going on in this fight. I do look for Rose's movement and quickness to be too much early in the fight, of course, the way it was in the previous fight. The key, of course, is going to be, does Rose catch her again? It's very much possible. It might not be a head kick, but in general, Rose may catch her early again in this fight. Even without catching her early, I do think Thug Rose can outstrike Zhang Weili, just with that quickness and that with that lateral movement. If Rose slows down at all, I think that's where they could be in trouble. I think if Zhang Weili tags her once or twice and sort of gains that confidence to start marching forward with that pressure, I think that can cause Rose Namajunas problems as well. I do think Zhang Weili is going to be, very motivated in this fight. Very hungry to get this win back. She definitely, wants to get that win back from somebody that knocked her over the head kick. The fight truly comes down to a gut pick. I don't think you can confidently say either one fighter is going to win this fight. So I think in some ways it just has to come down to a gut pick. And my gut says Zhang Weili pulls this out, and my gut says Zhang Weili sets up the trilogy fight, and who knows what's going to happen in that one. But in this second fight, I'm going with Zhang Weili to beat Thug Rose and to get that title back.
Yeah, fair, man. This is a tough fight. The odds show it. I'm gonna go with Rose. I think in the rematch, she's gonna show that she's just the better striker. She's gonna bang 3 rounds. I don't think she's gonna get the knockout this time around. But I just see her being the smoother striker, the more precise striker to win these rounds. She does good in rematches, and I expect her to continue that the success in rematches here. I just think she's the better fighter than Weili Zhang. I think she's a bad matchup for Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang does have the power to change the fight in one shot. And I think if she avoids the power, this is her fight to win here. She should win the rounds. But again, Weili Zhang is super live. I like your pick. I could see her winning this fight here because she does have the power, and Rose can get hurt. So again, this is a tough fight either side, but I'm going to go with Rose here. I think that she's going to be ready in this rematch here with Trevor Whitman, with Usman, Gaethje, the whole team over there. They're all looking good lately. I like her in this spot. So I'm going to take her. But again, this is a tough fight to bet. As far as betting goes, I may change my mind after I see the win.
Yeah, definitely a very important disclaimer there. That one might come down to what the weigh-ins look like. That one might even come down to what the ring walk looks like. So definitely really weary about betting on either side for that fight. And again, just go with your gut feeling on that one. Let's move on to our main event of the evening. We got Kamaru Usman taking on Colby Covington. Usman, of course, 3-0 since that last Covington fight. Boxing still improves on a fight-by-fight basis, pretty patient, methodical, technical, efficient. Has a good jab, especially with his long arms. We see that he does have the 4-inch reach advantage. Good straight right hand. It hurts people. The advantage with Usman is that he's steady, he's consistent. And of course, we know his world-class wrestling. Don't really need to talk about it, but statistically, over 3 takedowns per fight, 100% takedown defense as well for as many fights as he's had in the UFC, of course, is extremely impressive. For Colby Covington, 1-0 since that fight with Kamaru Usman. He hasn't fought since September 2020. That was at the time that he beat Tyron Woodley. Colby has good activity. We know that. We know that he has good movement. We know he has good fakes and feints. We know he has good striking diversity. We know he has good combinations and good timing as well. Unlimited cardio, even in a 5-round fight. Don't expect that to be a problem. We know he has world-class wrestling in his own right. Over 4.5 takedowns per fight with the same takedown accuracy as Usman, right around that 50% mark. Both of their strengths was able to shine in their first fight. Colby had moments with his activity and with his striking diversity. Usman had moments with that stiff jab and that right straight. Of course, broke his jaw. Simply put, there's no reason to believe that this fight does not go the exact same way as the last fight, at least stylistically. The only thing is that even in going the exact same way stylistically, it really could still lead to either guy winning the fight. I do think at the end of the day, though, I do trust Usman more to win this fight. I do think his stand-up has gotten better since their last fight. And I think the big X factor is his physical strength. It remains a problem. We know this is a welterweight fight. We know Usman is a lot bigger than that, just a very big body for this welterweight division, and uses that physical strength advantage that he has over all of his opponents, uses that to his advantage. Of course, let's not forget Covington had a lot of moments in that last fight. To that point, I don't think Usman should be as steep as he is at minus 330. I understand respecting the champion. I understand him getting the job done last time, but I think Usman should maybe be a minus 220 at most. And even that is pushing it a little bit. For underdog reasons, I can see why people would go with Covington. Great payout, definitely worth a shot. But like I said, from a pick perspective, I do trust Usman a little bit more to get the job done, to sort of make it look exactly the way the first fight did, and to pull out the victory and to retain the title. So Kamaru Usman is going to be my pick.
Okay, I'm not as confident here as you are, but I am going with Usman. But we can't forget that last fight. It was 2-2 going into that fifth round. Colby Covington, if he didn't get hurt in these rounds, his activity is winning him these rounds. So there's a good chance that he could dance around. If he doesn't get hurt, he could win this fight. And I would not be surprised. But I'm with you on Usman here. For me, it's the activity here. Obviously, Colby hasn't fought since Woodley. And that was September, so pretty much last year and a bit. He hasn't fought while Usman has been active. Usman fought April. He fought February. And then he fought July of 2020. So he's fought 3 fights. And Colby's fought 1 fight in that in that period of time. And as you mentioned, Usman's striking has improved so much. He has a lot more power in that jab. That straight is deadly. He put out a Masvidal. He was looking really good in the striking. So I like Usman here. I think he improved a lot more than Covington has, but I'm not confident here. That last fight was super close. And I got to give Covington his respect. He's definitely the second best welterweight. Chimaev's coming up, but he's definitely the second best welterweight right now. And he gave Usman his toughest fight. So I got to remember that. But I still think Kamaru should get this done, keep this on the feet. And I think he's going to land the stronger strikes and eventually hurt Covington.
So let's take it to Vegas in that point. Let's consider the entire card, just the main card, up to you from that perspective. But let's take a look at underdog picks. Who are we taking a look at?
Okay. On the main card, I think Frankie Edgar has a shot, man. But again, yeah, I know Marlon Vera likely gets it done, man. This is just a fan selection because I'm an Edgar fan, so this is a selection here based on that. So I would not suggest following this. I don't think you should bet this fight. But I'm gonna go Frankie Edgar here as an underdog.
For my underdog pick, I guess the closest thing I have to an underdog is the pick'em fight that Thug Rose versus Weili Zhang presents here. And because Weili is the challenger, in my mind, she's the underdog as well. So I'm going with Zhang Weili as my quote unquote underdog pick. Pretty much a pick'em, pretty much even money, however you want to take a look at it. I think she has the best shot at winning from that perspective. In terms of favorite / parlay / who you're considering betting on, who are you taking a look at?
I'm looking at Shane Burgos and Kamaru Usman.
Kamaru Usman, Shane Burgos. I'll save the time because those are also my 2 picks as well. Those 2 would pay a minus 106, so pretty much a double up of your money. $100 will return $195. $250 for our bigger bettors will return $487. So let's sign off on that note. Of course, please subscribe to the channel at Boxingmmapicks, where you can check out all of our content. Definitely want you to press the thumbs up. Definitely want you to participate in the comments as well. Let us know who your favorite picks are on this card, who your underdog picks are on this card. Let us know how you feel about our picks as well. And if there is some additional insight that you're looking for, we're more than happy to have all of that conversation in the comments. Otherwise, again, we are going to officially sign off. This has been UFC 268, Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington 2. This has been the main card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, let's get this money.
Let's get it.